Chapter 12 of Masters of Space. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by R.J. Davis. Masters of Space by Edward Elmer Smith, a.k.a. E.E. Doc Smith, and Edward Everett Evans. Translated by Robert Cicconetti, Stephen Blundell, and the online distributed proofreading team. Chapter 12. As has been said, the Stretts were working with all the intensity of their monstrous but tremendously capable minds upon their great plan, which was basically to conquer and either enslave or destroy every other intelligent race throughout all the length, breadth, and thickness of total space. To that end, each individual Stretts had to become invulnerable and immortal. Wherefore, in the inconceivably remote past, there had been put into effect a program of selective breeding and of carefully calculated treatment. It was mathematically certain that this program would result in a race of beings of pure force, beings having no material constituents remaining whatever. Under those hellish treatments, billions upon billions of Stretts had died, but the few remaining thousands had almost reached their sublime goal. In a few more hundreds of thousands of years, perfection would be reached. The few surviving hundreds of perfect beings could and would multiply to any desired number in practically no time at all. Hilton and his 7 fellow workers had perceived all this in their one and only study of the planet Strett, and every other Ardan had been completely informed. A dozen or so Strett lords of thought, male and female, were floating about in the atmosphere, which was not air, of their assembly hall. Their heads were globes of ball lightning. Inside them could be seen quite plainly the intricate convolutions of immense, less than half material brains, shot through and through with rods and pencils and shapes of pure circulating force. And the bodies, or rather each horrendous brain, had a few partially material appendages and appurtenances recognizable as bodily organs. There were no mouths, no ears, no eyes, no noses or nostrils, no lungs, no legs or arms. There were, however, hearts. Some partially material ichor flowed through those living fire-outlined tubes. There were starkly functional organs of reproduction, with which, by no stretch of the imagination, could any thought of tenderness or of love be connected. It was a good thing for the race. Hilton had thought at first perception of the things that the Stretts had bred out of themselves, every iota of the finer, higher attributes of life. If they had not done so, the impotence of sheer disgust would have supervened so long since that the race would have been extinct for ages. 38 periods ago, the Great Brain was charged with the sum total of Stedian knowledge. First Lord Thinker Zoyar radiated to the assembled Stretts. For those 38 periods it has been scanning, hail and ironing, amassing data, and formulating hypotheses, theories, and conclusions. It has just informed me that it is now ready to make a preliminary report. Great Brain, how much of the total universe have you studied? This galaxy only. The brain radiated in a texture of thought as hard and as harsh as Zoyar's own. Why not more? Insufficient power. My first conclusion is that whoever set up the specifications for me is a fool. To say that the First Lord went out of control at this statement is to put it very mildly indeed. He fulminated, ending with, "Destroyed instantly." "Destroy me if you like," came the utterly calm, utterly cold reply. "I am in no sense alive. I have no consciousness of self, nor any desire for continued existence. could do so, I ever would." A flurry of activity interrupted the thought. Zoyar was, in fact, assembling the forces to destroy the brain. But before he could act, Second Lord Thinker Ynos and another female blew him into a mixture of loose molecules and flaring energies. "Destruction of any and all irrational minds is mandatory," Ynos, now First Lord Thinker, explained to the linked minds. Zoyar had been becoming less and less rational by the period. A good workman does not causelessly destroy his tools. Go ahead, Great Brain, with your findings. "Not be logical." The brain resumed the thought exactly where it had been broken off. "Zoyar erred in demanding unlimited performance, since infinite knowledge and infinite ability require not only infinite capacity and infinite power, but also infinite time. Nor is it either necessary or desirable that I should have such qualities. There is no reasonable basis for the assumption that you Strats will conquer any significant number, even of the millions of intelligent races now inhabiting this one galaxy." "Why not?" Ynos demanded, her thought almost but not quite as steady and cold as it had been. "The answer to that question is implicit in the second indefensible error made in my construction. The prime datum expressed into my bank that the Strets are in fact the strongest, ablest, most intelligent race in the universe proved to be false. I had to eliminate it before I could do any really constructive thinking." A roar of condemnatory thought brought all of circumambient ether to a boil. "Destroy it! Detestable! Intolerable! If that is the best it can do, annihilate it! Far better brains have been destroyed for much less. Treason!" and so on. The First Lord Thinker Ynos, however, remained relatively calm. "While we have always held it to be a fact that we are the highest race in existence, no rigorous proof has been possible. Can you now disprove that assumption?" "I have disproved it. I have not had time to study all of the civilizations of this galaxy, but I have examined a statistically adequate sample of 1,792,416 different planetary intelligences. I found one which is considerably abler and more advanced than you Strats. Therefore, the probability is greater than .99 that there are not less than 10 and not more than 208 such races in this galaxy alone." "Impossible!" Another wave of incredulous and threatening anger swept through the linked mind, a wave which Ynos flattened out with some difficulty. Then she asked, "Is it probable that we will make contact with this supposedly superior race in the foreseeable future?" "You are in contact with it now." "What?" Even Ynos was contemptuous now. "You mean that one shipload of despicable humans who, far too late to do them any good, barred us temporarily from Fuel World?" "Not exactly, or only those humans know. And your assumptions may or may not be valid." "Don't you know whether they are or not?" Ynos snapped. "Explain your uncertainty at once." "I am uncertain because of insufficient data," the brain replied calmly. "The only pertinent facts of which I am certain are: first, the world Ardrey upon which the Omans formerly lived and to which the humans in question first went, a planet which no Strat can peyondire, is now abandoned. Second, the Strats of old did not completely destroy the humanity of the world Ardu. Third, some escapees from Ardu reached and populated the world Ardrey. Fourth, the android Omans were developed on Ardrey by the human escapees from Ardu and their descendants. Fifth, the Omans referred to these humans as masters. Sixth, after living on Ardrey for a very